Have you ever listened to something that felt like it was listening back to you? Not just a sound, not just a recording, but something aware. Something that knew you were there in the dark with your headphones on, your screen glowing, your heart quietly beating as it waited. Because what you're about to hear wasn't meant to be found. It wasn't meant to be played. It was discovered on a damaged cassette tape inside the remains of Hollow Asylum. A place so isolated and forgotten that even the maps stopped naming it decades ago. The building was scheduled for demolition, but before the crews arrived, an urban explorer slipped inside and found a small locked room beneath the west wing, sealed with rusted chains and warning signs no one remembered posting. Inside was an old tape recorder, still plugged in, still humming, still waiting. The only label on the tape read, "Do not listen." Everyone who ignored that warning before me is now missing, their online accounts silent, their messages unfinished, their last known locations always pointing back to Black Hollow. And if you're watching this right now, it means the tape has already begun its next playback cycle. Welcome to this channel, where we don't just tell horror stories, we exhume them. Here, we dig up the forgotten files, the cursed recordings, and the creepypastas that were buried for a reason. And we bring them back into the light so you can decide whether they were ever meant to stay hidden. Tonight's story is one of the most disturbing pieces of lost media ever shared in underground forums, a tale so convincing that people still argue whether it was fiction or a real incident that someone desperately tried to cover up. What you're about to experience is not a jump scare compilation or a simple ghost story. It's a slow, suffocating descent into something that doesn't want to be remembered, but will not allow itself to be forgotten. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and listen closely, because from this point on, the story isn't just being told, it's being passed to you. The first time anyone noticed Hollow Asylum again was not because of a missing person, or a police report, or even a ghost story. It was because of a post on an abandoned internet forum, buried beneath years of spam and forgotten threads. The post was written by someone who called himself Rook74, and all it said was, "Found something that shouldn't exist. If I don't come back, burn this place." Attached was a single blurry photo of a rusted building surrounded by dead trees, its windows black like hollow eye sockets. No one took it seriously at first. Urban explorers make dramatic posts all the time, but 2 days later, Rook74's account went silent. A week after that, another user uploaded more images from the same location, Hollow Asylum. The place had supposedly been shut down in the late 1980s after a fire destroyed one of its wings and killed several patients. Official records claimed the building was demolished, but the photos showed it still standing, hidden deep in a stretch of forest that didn't appear on modern maps. Curiosity spread faster than fear. People began searching for it. That's how I got involved. I wasn't a paranormal investigator or a thrill seeker. I archived lost media and strange internet phenomena. When I saw the posts about Black Hollow, I assumed it was just another hoax. Still, something about those photos felt wrong. The shadows were too dark. The walls looked wet, and one of the windows had something behind it, something that wasn't there in the earlier images. 3 weeks later, a package arrived at my door. There was no return address. Inside was a small cassette tape recorder, old and scratched, with a single tape still inside it. A piece of masking tape was stuck to the side, and written in faded marker were the words, "Do not listen." There was also a note. It read, "You were looking. Now you have it. Black Hollow doesn't like to be alone. I should have thrown it away. I should have destroyed it. But instead, I did what everyone does when faced with something forbidden. I pressed play. At first, all I heard was static, then a faint breathing sound, slow, wet, like someone trying not to be heard. After a few seconds, a voice whispered, barely audible beneath the noise, "Can you hear me?" I nearly dropped the recorder. The voice sounded tired, Afraid. It introduced itself as Martin, a former night orderly at Black Hollow Asylum. He explained that he had been recording everything because no one believed what was happening inside the building. "They don't leave," he said. "The patients, they don't die. Something keeps them here. Something in the walls." The tape cut out after that. That night, I dreamed of long hallways and doors that never stayed closed. And when I woke up, my computer was open to a map I had never searched for. Black Hollow Asylum was marked in red. I tried to convince myself the tape was just an elaborate story, some kind of immersive horror project meant to scare people online. But the map on my computer didn't feel fake. I had never seen that location before, yet there it was, pinned on a satellite image, deep in a patch of forest labeled only with a series of numbers. Even stranger, when I checked my browser history, there was no record of me searching for it. The cassette recorder was sitting on my desk. It hadn't been there when I went to sleep. I told myself I must have moved it. Sleepwalking, maybe. Still, my hands were shaking as I pressed play again. The tape picked up right where it had stopped. Martin's voice returned, quieter now. They started changing first, the patients. They'd stand in the corners of their rooms, facing the walls for hours. When we tried to move them, they screamed like something was tearing them apart. There was a loud thump in the background, followed by distant cries. Martin kept talking, describing how the asylum staff began locking certain wings and pretending nothing was wrong. People were disappearing, not running away, just vanishing. Then Martin whispered something that made my blood run cold. It knows when you listen. The tape ended abruptly, but a faint whisper lingered for several seconds after the click. My name. I unplugged the recorder. That was when I noticed something new on my wall. There were scratch marks beside my bedroom door, thin and deep, as if someone had dragged their nails across the wood trying to get in. I live alone. I had locked the door. Over the next few days, things kept getting worse. My phone would play static when I tried to make calls. My reflection in the mirror sometimes lagged behind my movements by half a second. And every night, I dreamed of Black Hollow, of endless corridors and doors that led nowhere. The map on my computer updated itself. A small red dot blinked where my house was. I knew what it meant. Whatever had been trapped inside that asylum was no longer there alone. It had followed the tape. It had followed the recording. And now it was getting closer. On the fourth night after the tape arrived, I woke up to the sound of breathing in my room, not my own. It was slow, labored, like someone struggling to draw air through a damaged throat. I lay perfectly still, staring at the dark ceiling, afraid to turn my head. The sound was coming from the corner near my closet. Then the cassette recorder clicked on by itself. Martin's voice filled the room. "You see it now, don't you?" The closet door creaked open. What stepped out was not human. It wore the shape of a person, tall and thin, but its limbs bent at wrong angles, and its skin looked like it had been stretched too tightly over something that didn't belong inside it. Its face was blank, smooth, except for a mouth that opened far too wide. "I was a patient once," Martin's voice said through the recorder. "Black Hollow taught me how to stay." The thing moved closer. Every step made a wet sound, like walking through thick mud. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. The walls began to ripple, revealing dark, pulsing shapes beneath the paint, as if the building from my dreams was bleeding into my room. I understood then. Black Hollow wasn't just a place. It was a thing. A living structure that fed on minds, on memories, on anyone who acknowledged it. The tape was its doorway. The creature leaned down, and for a moment, I saw my own face inside its mouth, screaming silently. I don't remember escaping. I only remember waking up on the floor, the room quiet again. The walls were normal. The closet was closed. The cassette recorder sat on my desk, untouched. But the map on my computer was gone. So was my reflection. When I looked into the mirror, there was a delay again. Only this time, the reflection didn't follow me at all. It just stared back, smiling. I realized the truth too late. The thing didn't need my body. It needed my voice. That's why you're hearing this now. Why you're watching this video. And now that the story is over, the silence you're sitting in isn't really silence at all. It is the kind of quiet that follows something moving away, just slowly enough that you can tell whether it is truly gone, or simply waiting. Black Hollow was never just an abandoned asylum or a cursed building hidden in the woods. It was an idea, a hunger, a thing that only exists as long as someone remembers it, listens to it, or speaks its name. Every recording, every retelling, every moment of curiosity gives it another place to breathe. That's why Martin could never leave, and why the narrator never really escaped either. They didn't die in the traditional sense. They were archived, stored inside the story itself, waiting for the next person to press play. If you've been paying close attention, you might have noticed how the story never actually ends. It loops. A tape is found, someone listens, something follows, and another voice gets added to the recording. That means, in a way,